Hello there, TNA fan. Welcome back to the Impact Zone podcast. We're here again to talk about TNA wrestling shenanigans, and we're here again to talk about some more things today. And today I want to talk about who or what TNA can do in regard to surprises for the AMC debut. Now, I've talked a fair bit about some of the wrestlers that are on the indie scene, some potential AEW signings, recent quote unquote expiries of contracts and whatnot. Some of the WWE potential crossover that we've already got confirmed now. So I do feel like there is something in that too as well. Like, if you're saying, hey, we've got AJ Styles coming over here, and this is something that last time we saw did really well in terms of shifting tickets, and I do think it has done some shifting of the tickets, but I think that there is a lot of lag for a lot of different reasons, and I've talked about a lot of those here. I do feel like you saying perhaps in a promo or in a teaser or whatever that you don't know who's going to turn up is kind of not quite enough. It's not quite enough just to show somebody in a video package or whatever. You've got to kind of tease things a little bit more than just saying you don't know who will turn up or whatever. Obviously, again, we could get some AAA or I can't remember is it Noah that I think WWE is partnered with in Japan. I think that there was actually some Japanese wrestler there that was in the Elegance Brands promo thing that was happening last week. So I think that they're going to debut Mr. Elegance this week or this upcoming week, and I believe that will obviously be in the or around that tag team match. And I believe that this new Japanese wrestler, whoever he is, I think somebody did point out who he was, but I've forgotten. But yes, he might well get involved in that. So I think that he would be a good new single star as well. I feel like a lot of the stuff that you've done with both of M and Heather by Elegance, maybe not Ash by Elegance, but a lot of the stuff that you've done with them thus far is kind of well, we don't know what else to kind of do with them. So putting them with this new guy and helping him get over and helping him kind of forge his own path and do this Elegance style gimmick or whatever else it is or whatever in this regard is going to be interesting, and we could find something within there to be good, because I feel like if you're just going to say it's a random crew member or whatever that was in TNA, I think that's somewhat funny, haha, in some ways, but I feel like it should be a wrestler 100%, and I just wonder how you're going to do this with a non-wrestler or whatever involved. Maybe he actually is a wrestler, this other guy, but I don't know. But that is at least one thing to say. Now it's more official. He's here or he's going to be here type thing. That's an obvious one there, obviously, because he was involved in the last tapings and whatnot. Probably one of the last minute things, and they probably I don't know whether, I'm pretty sure it would have had to been broadcast, but a lot of people probably didn't again know who it was or know much about it. So again, it's one of those things of saying, hey, well, yeah. And my question also becomes what are you going to save not just for this episode or whatever, but what are you going to save for Genesis? What are you going to save for, the next couple of weeks or the next couple of months or whatever else it is? Because again, I said this before, you can't debut everyone at the same time or within the same show, because, that sort of takes away from everyone else. And like, you've had a few wrestlers or a few other wrestlers that have either left or have been in a more diminished role for a while, like Rosemary, and you had recently Killer Kelly leaving, though she's been, I think she has like 3 or 4 kids or something with Myron. So I could understand why perhaps they were like, well, we won't renew with you, we'll just let you go be a mom and go be an awesome mom, because raising, even one child or 3 children or whatever, I don't know how many they've got, but whatever, is like a task in itself, let alone in the way that things are right now within the US and whatnot. But I feel like maybe that's another reason to say, hey, Myron, let's sign you up more so and give you like basically double the paycheck or whatever, because we want you and Kelly to be well looked after, and we want to see you guys happy and carrying on and whatever. So yeah, but what else could they do? Like I said, I sort of hinted at it towards AJ, but like one of the reasons that this is also not taking off, not just because of the day or whatever else, or the fact that this is kind of a new thing happening, it's also happening in a very saturated area and a very like not lower income, because like most wrestling fans are lower income, but a lower income area in a sense of saying, well, these people don't have a lot of money to spend on wrestling right now. So, you've got to give them real bang for your buck. So saying, hey, AJ's going to be here, oh, cool, great. But unlike last time, there's not been 11 years worth of people pining and waiting to see him. Like, you have to offer them more in terms of, okay, well, what's he going to do? He's not just going to be here, hopefully, to just say words and disappear again. Because it's like, well, we've done that. We've been here. We've done that. And that's cool and all. But obviously, people want to see him in a greater role, even if it was as a manager or whatever it is. Especially if that manager role, like think the Festival of Friendship with Owens and Jericho. Imagine that they did that sort of thing, but I don't know, a little bit differently, I guess, that with Leon and AJ. AJ is more of Leon's manager, more of his mouthpiece or whatever, for a while, and this sort of thing, and then you sort of have something spark between them or whatever, and it's like he has to now wrestle AJ, or AJ has to wrestle him, or whatever else it is that leads to their match or whatever, that sort of thing. So it's more of I don't think that will honestly happen, because I feel like WWE will be like, well, we're not renting him out to you this many days or this many weeks or this many months or however much time, whatever. We're just renting him out to you here and maybe there or whatever. Maybe a Hall of Fame or maybe some other stuff or whatever. And I think that's kind of what TNA is kind of banking on hopefully like getting him one more appearance and one more match, potentially, and then perhaps a Hall of Fame later on down the road. So I would think that's their goal with that, and obviously, whether or not that's going to happen is debatable or whatever. But obviously fans don't they obviously want to see AJ, but they don't want to just see him. They want to feel like, okay, why are you here? that's what I said with like Joe Hendry turning up at Genesis, rather. I'm about to say Bound for Glory. But why is he turning up at Genesis? Like, what's that for? Like, you're just going to be here to say hi or thank yous or whatever? Like, what's that about? Like, this will work for you this time, perhaps. Like, it worked a lot for AJ last time. But if you're going to do something else, like down the road, I feel like, wow, you've got to do more than just say, hey, this person's turning up and this person's turning up. And I mean, maybe WWE, I don't know, I haven't seen much of the hype behind whether WWE is hyping up AJ's return to TNA on TV, because this is different. Like, it is TV, it's not a pay-per-view. It is a live TV though, so it's going to be live. That's a big difference from like if it was just on a random taped episode, obviously. But yeah, same thing. Like, what is that leading to? Where is that going? Is it going anywhere? The fans have high hopes in some ways, in some forms, but they have been burned before, so it's like they're somewhat trepidatious, or I don't know, they don't believe, so to speak. Not in Joe Hendry, but like in whether WWE will follow through with anything, because they've seen how like WWE has not really done that and that for the last like couple of years or whatever it's been. And hey, well, now we're on a bigger stage. They might feel like, well, we can afford more, or we can do more, because now it actually like translates into something a little bit more, rather than, oh yeah, whatever, it's just a thing that happens on the pay-per-view. Maybe people will tune in, or maybe people will buy a ticket or whatever else, but this will translate into ratings and whatnot. And like pay-per-view to pay-per-view, it doesn't hurt AEW enough for us to do these things on pay-per-view or whatever as much. It helps, or it hurts them more for us to try to do it on TV, or to do more things on TV, especially live TV. So, and especially like that very first episode. So I began asking the question, could WWE send over some more TNA alumni or whatever to this from where they are over there? There's a couple of people like LA Knight, Drew Galloway, Drew McIntyre over there, Cody Rhodes, people forget Cody was there, CM Punk, people forget CM Punk was there at one time or another. People forget about like the backstage people, or more of the backstage people like Nick Aldis and Sanjay Dutt and Abyss and a few other people, Bobby Roode and whatnot, some of these other people that are there and whatnot. Like there's not many NXT people, maybe like Ethan Page, Chelsea Green, but yeah, like there's not as many. Obviously there's a lot more main roster people, but you don't want to have too many of them, especially on night one, but you want to have at least a smattering or a handful of them, or something of them. Like, I don't know what Jordynne Grace is doing, but it feels like she's much more incorporated into the show than what Joe Hendry might be. I don't know, but we'll wait and see with that as well. But yeah, so maybe some more like either NXT or main roster stars, but I would only expect like maybe one or two at a time, or whatever else it is. And like a lot of them, especially like Abyss, Bobby Roode, maybe Sanjay can still wrestle, I'm not too sure, but like a lot of them are inactive, meaning out of the ring, like they're no longer in-ring performers or whatever. So bringing them back for something is like saying, well, what are we going to do with you, unless like you're being a manager or just doing something. And again, obviously, like a lot of those other guys are not the level of superstar as like what AJ was, or what AJ is in the minds of TNA fans, or in fans in general when they think of TNA. Like, yes, you might think of some of the, like, Abyss maybe, or whatever, maybe Bobby, but, like, the rest, like, you probably might remember some of these other guys, but, like, they're less so, they never were the top guy or whatever else it was. So, again, maybe Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, actually, I just about forgot about them, but, like, that would help with their tag team scene, to be honest. But then again, like I said, it's probably a one night only thing. That, or maybe like, hey, we'll challenge you for those titles at the next pay-per-view. We'll see you then. Bye. Type thing. And then they come in and lose, and then they wander off again. Or whatever. That sort of thing. I don't think anyone's, like, especially not week to week, every week, or whatever else it is, being there all the time or whatever else it is. Because, again, hey, well, WWE needs us on the main roster or needs us over here or whatever. So, yeah, I don't know that that's going to happen. I wouldn't think that there's going to be a lot more indie names or whatever called into TNA on this debut. Maybe next week or maybe later or whatever. Perhaps that's a bit different. But I would say that there's not going to be many, like, younger talent unless they're debuting alongside the established talent or whatever sort of thing. Because, like, you want to catch the casuals as much as possible, unfortunately, especially on this first show. To be like, no, tune in. We're going to have all these legends. And we've got all these icons and all these guys that but we're also got these young guys that are hungry, that are already here, and maybe next week, hey, here's some more young guys that we feel like are up and coming and could really make a big splash here and whatever else. That's where I would say, maybe a balance would work, but, like, if you debut one legend or two legends or something, or whatever, icons, whatever, two established things, and then maybe one or two, like, unestablished people that sort of have a good buzz around them that the crowd will pop for, it might be well worth it. Because, again, you've got to catch people being like, not too much, who the frig is this? Why am I watching this no-name person debut or whatever? Even though, like, a lot of wrestling fans are much more inside baseball now than what they have been in many years. Still, a lot of people don't know who some people are or what they're all about or whatever else. So it's like, well, we don't want to debut too many no-name people or whatever else it is, so that people are, like, scratching their head or whatever else. Even like I say, the TNA hardcore fan base may not know exactly who everyone is, because it's like, oh yes, they weren't really the focus, or this other guy was never here, or whatever else it was. It was only this other guy or whatever, and I only remember, like, this part or that part of this or whatever else. Because, again, it is a lot to have to remember, everyone and everything that ever happened, or whatever. But, yeah, again, like, it's one of those things of saying, hey, obviously you still want people to be like, holy heck, or whatever, and amazed, and have some of those moments on the episode where it's like, this new person's debuted, or this new person makes a big splash, or whatever else it is. Even with some of your current crop, like if you've got Danny Luna there, I would expect that she's going to do a run-in with Lang Lee and do something, or whatever, and yeah, you'll do some stuff there, or whatever it is. So, again, you've got to have people feeling like, oh, okay, these people are about to, go to war tomorrow, or in 2 nights, or whatever it is. So we've got to see these two go at it, and what's going to happen with Mike Santana and that sort of thing and whatnot. So keeping people's interest is not just, having matches and whatnot. Like I said before, you've got to have good matches, but you've got to be like, okay, there's got to be moments and characters and story and, returns and debuts. So, like, there could be some returns on the books, perhaps. Like, we've talked about EC3. I don't know whether we've talked about James Storm, but, like, he's out there, I think, and he could return and do something. One last little run as well, or whatever. I think he's one of those guys that's, like, a lot of fans still feel like he never really got his world title run properly. So having him come in and say this is the last rodeo or whatever, not the same as Mickey James, but like the similar, this is the last corral or something, I don't know, this is the last muster, or this is the last, whatever, something like that for me, and I've got to win that title, because I never really held it for more than a few days or whatever it is, but how is he going to do that? And will the fans accept him over Santana, or will somebody else win it, or whatever? Or will he be there for more long term, or is it just a cameo, or whatever else it is? That sort of thing. Like saying, yes, we want some cameos or whatever, but like I feel like most of the stuff that you're trying to do should be more long term stuff. You shouldn't just be like, here's this person, they're going away, we're never going to see them again, or probably almost never going to see them again. So that's a bummer. Like, if you're feeling like, oh man, they just turned up to say hey and thanks or whatever, and now nothing's going to come of it or whatever. But if you get it to feel like, oh man, no, he's probably sticking around at least for a few months or whatever else it is, or maybe even longer, then it's like, oh, okay, cool, great. That's what we want. We want guys to be here, not just for a little while or whatever. If you start to feel like maybe, hey, we don't know, he might be on a handshake, he's been here for a while seemingly, or is he going to turn up again, or he set something up there, not just, hey, I'm here, I'm back, thank you so much, whatever. But if you set up a story for him and saying, hey, James Storm, after he's returned or something out there, or even like you could do it backstage, or you could just pick up the mic or whatever, I don't know, but he says, well, I've returned to TNA, and I'm back, and then my last run, and I gotta win that title or whatever, I didn't mention Nick Aldis, but like he's more or less not in ring anymore, so like he would be more of a one-off sort of appearance as well, I feel like, or a howdy sort of appearance. Like, so I want more people that are gonna stick with the brand, or at least gonna be partially here on the brand and whatnot. So I don't want guys that are just there to be like howdy, howdy, howdy as much. I want more guys coming in that are like, I'm going to be here for a few weeks. I'm going to be here for a few months. I'm going to set up this storyline or whatever else it is, and we're going to go from there, whatever it is. So that is my goal, or this is where this is going. It's not just, oh, I'm here and whatever. I'm actually like here for a thing, or I have a reason, or I'm so back and TNA is so back, or whatever. That's what the feeling's got to be. You've got to be like, oh man, we've got all these major players back more permanently, not just, or whatever. Or even saying again, like I said with AJ, if he says, I'm going to have one more match here in TNA, I promise that at Rebellion or at Slammiversary that I will have one of my last matches here in TNA or something, whatever else it is. And I want it to be against Leon Slater or something, That's huge, because at least then, like, you're promising something or whatever else. At least you're setting something out to say this is what's going to happen, or this is what we're going to see. Or even if you start teasing it and saying, maybe if I get the opportunity, I will have that last match here in TNA, and I hope it's against you, type thing. So that's starting to be like more and more like like I said before, maybe AJ could open the show and say, welcome to the new era. But he could also do more than that, like, obviously. But he could also just not do the opening and be like, after Leon has his match, come out and say, hey, I hope to have another match here in TNA, and I sure as hell hope it's against you. But I can't promise anything because WWE is a dickhead. Which, in my opinion, again, they should have said, sure, go have one more match in TNA or whatever. Or, no, you're not having another match in TNA or whatever. They should have already signed off or not signed off on whatever they're going to do with him. Like, that's what I mean. Like, but anyway. So what else can we do? You know what I mean? Not just setting up stories, not just setting up characters, because you've got to set up, the new audience with, like, and maybe the TNA fam that are already watching, the core audience might be going, why are we seeing all this stuff, all these things, like, on the wrestlers we already know, or whatever. But it's not just that. You might have forgotten something, or whatever. It's not just for you, it's for the new audience. And it's like a recap of, like, okay, how did we get here? Who are these people? Why are they fighting? What are they fighting for? Like, why you should care? Where this is going? Or whatever. And the ramifications or whatever. All that sort of stuff. So again, like, any debut, return, or moment cannot just be a moment into itself. It has to be like, okay, this, like, obviously, like, the ultimate purpose for any wrestler is the world title, like, a lot of the time. But if you're going to debut, and I hope you're going to debut some more X Division guys or some more women's wrestlers and whatnot, and some more, like, main event or semi-main event guys or whatever, you can't just be like, they're here, and tune in next week to find out what they're on. No, we've got to find out either here and now or whatever, or at the next show, the next pay-per-view, what they're all about. Or at least it's, like, implied clearly, like, what they're here for, or more so clearly what they're here for and why. Not just, oh, cool, they're here. Like I said before, maybe you could get Crazy Steve back. Maybe you could get Havoc back. I don't really know what they're doing. I don't know whether they're even still wrestling. I don't know. But yeah, they are, like, I don't know whether people, like, a lot of people would remember them, but the core TNA fans would probably remember them. Or whatever, and that sort of thing. So it's like, yeah, bring back the people that would work. But yeah, like, don't stack, like, you've got to stack the first show, but don't stack it too much, because it's like, you've got to have time for everything to kind of have its own thing. That's why I was saying, don't debut too many people on the first show, or whatever. Debut as many as possible, obviously, or returns, or whatever. But don't be like, oh man, we're going to have 500 or not even 100 people on this show or whatever. We've got to make sure that if we're going to have a debut next week, which I think it's live next week, it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, we need to save some of that for then, or whatever it is. But yeah. So it's hard to say, like, what else, but, like, also kicking into gear, like, some of the other characters and some of the other stories that you want to tell or want to have on your show, like Mace Warner, like AJ Francis, stuff like that, even just, like, little things for them, like, like, it's tough to fit everything in, but, like, that's what you've kind of got to do. You've kind of got to fit as much stuff in as possible while having good matches, while having moments, while having those character things. And it's only a 2-hour show, but it, like, that's the name of the show, TNA, Total Nonstop Action. There, like, but even in saying that you've got to have another thing, and then another thing, and then another thing, or whatever it is, the show doesn't stop till it's done type thing. But like, you need to still have those moments be like, you can breathe and you can feel like the importance of that, and it isn't diminished by, so there's like 4, I think, matches on this card, I think. And I said before, like, you want to have one thing for each kind of division, or maybe it's 5. I don't remember. But yeah, if you want one thing for each division kind of thing, then you want 4 things. With AJ, I say that that's kind of one thing, maybe. I don't know. So then you've got maybe 3, maybe 4 left, like at the most. So you've got to have those 3 or 4 things be the biggest and best things for each division. You can't just say, oh yeah, we're going to rely on hoping that people think Jericho's coming over here, or at least making an appearance, or whatever else it is. Or we're not just going to pull some of these other guys that are sort of in the mid-card or upper mid-card into the more main event picture, or whatever else it is. Yeah, we've got to have, like, already that sense of, like, okay, so this is what we're doing. This is the plan. This is the goal. This is the direction. What have you? Also, I just want to mention that, when the Royal Rumble is, this is just before the Royal Rumble. So anyone that you can convert over somewhat, or say, hey, we'll send, such and such and such and such, or whoever over to WWE, to get more attention in Saudi, maybe that's not going to help the AMC debut or Genesis, but it will help, like, later down the road, or whatever else it is. Or somebody like maybe Leon in the Rumble, and then he faces off for a little while against AJ, and it's like, this is the tease somewhat of these two kind of hook up type thing. That would be like a moment, like they're actually going somewhat one-on-one more so, and whatever. So that makes it more like, hey, there is something more here. So it's not, like I said before, it's not just what you do, it's the follow-up to what you do. Like, if somebody returns and just is there to say thank you, ma'ams, or whatever, or just to sort of say, here we are on AMC debut, welcome to the new era of TNA, or whatever, like, we're so back, like, or whatever. That sort of thing. It's like, yeah, that's great, but, like, next week you're not going to be here. Next month you're not going to be here. Like, why? Like, if I'm going to get hyped about you saying stuff or whatever else it is, I'm going to be more hyped if you say, and I've signed a somewhat long-term contract here with TNA, or we've come to a handshake agreement, and I'm going to be here. And I'm going to win the world title, and I'm going to try to do this, or whatever it is. So again, you've got to condense it to be like, okay, what do we absolutely need? Maybe right now we don't 1,000% need somebody in the X division, because you've got Myron, you've got Moose, you've got Alexander right there right now for the next thing. But we need to debut somebody maybe soon as well, or at least a couple of people soon as well, just to fill out that division a little bit more, just to give it a little bit more to work with, just for the interim at least, hopefully, or whatever. I said this before with Amazing Red. Like I said, we should see a match between Amazing Red and Leon in TNA or whatever. That would be awesome. It hasn't come to fruition, but you could still see Amazing Red return potentially. Like, I don't know what he's doing. He's not doing that much. He's just on the indies and whatnot, and he was recently seen in the Santana documentary. So there's another another one, but it's like how much, like I said, is like too much versus like it's just enough to get you hyped to be like, okay, it's not going to be like this every week or whatever else it is, where it's like, here's this new person or here's this legend or icon or whatever else it is or whatnot. But hey, you know, now we're going to have this person, that person, these people, whatever else it is. And that's why, again, like I said, don't focus in on the NXT people, and there's like no real NXT people on this show. Like some NXT people might appear on this show, but like there's no like matches with NXT people or whatever, or with WWE people or whatever, because it's like, okay, cool. That would take away a little bit more from who's there and who's going to keep there. It's not like if we bring somebody, like maybe the NXT Outlaws is a bit different, but like because they're already involved in the storyline and they're still going to be there for a little while, obviously. But like if you brought somebody else in, it's like, oh, okay, well, you're here either for highs or, you know, a quick in and out or whatever else it is. So you're not going to be here for more than a cup of coffee or whatever. So why would we care if you're not going to be here like long term? It's cool to see you, or it's a cool moment or whatever else it is, but or it's a cool little match that they have or whatever. But like long term, that's what you got to think of. Long term. Yes, maybe that helps somebody or something in the company or whatever else it is. So it's not that bad, but it's like, you know, like when it's like, oh man, we're just going to bring this NXT person here for no real reason. It's like, well, that time could have been better spent on bringing somebody in there that actually had a purpose to be there, a real long time purpose, or you know, whatever else it was. So that's what I want to see. I don't know how they're going to bring enough things to the plate, or like too many things to the plate in some ways or whatever, but like, we'll wait and see. But yeah, certainly those sorts of things are the things I feel like people want to see as well. They don't want to just see some person from somewhere turning up just to say hi, like for the most part or whatever, or just to try to put somebody over for the most part. It's like, yeah, that's cool or whatever, but like, I'd rather, like, rather than words, I'd rather see that in the ring, you know, in a match or whatever. And maybe it's that sort of thing isn't going to happen with some of those people, but like, again, that's what people would rather see. Or even like maybe like the funhouse matches, like the cinematic style matches. You could still do something there and say, hey, you know, make sure that this person goes over on that person, seemingly, at least in some ways, in this regard, you know, like they got one over on these people or whatever it was, you know. Like that's another thing, like with the Hardys and the Righteous. I feel like the Hardys have been saying, hey, you've been doing all this creepy stuff or whatever else it is, but they're even more creepy with their delete stuff and their, you know, otherworldly stuff and whatever else. So it's like the broken universe or whatever, that's just as creepy, if not more creepy. So they should like come out and say, hey, we can just be just as creepy or more creepy than you know, or whatever. So also having those little things of those little interactions of saying, you know, or stare offs or whatever, of like, these guys are going to face off in 2 nights, you know. Even simple things that, like putting people on commentary, like putting the Righteous on commentary, or putting Moose or Alexander on commentary, like doing those little things to those couple of matches or whatever else it is, that it's like, this is the person that this person is going to face at Genesis, you know, like, you know, type thing, you know, and having them kind of iterate their part of the story for the future helps sometimes, and helps them characterize themselves to the audience as well, not just saying, oh, we're going to do the same same things or whatever, but like one or two of them are like, oh yeah, cool, we'll do that or whatever, or should you do that or should they do that or whatever, making those choices and those decisions of saying, okay, well, who's going to do what. We can't have too many people doing this same thing because it becomes like, oh man, they don't have any other ideas except to stick them on commentary or whatever, and some things more require or like whatever that. I think the Moose or Alexander thing with Leon and whatnot would be more of the match to say, hey, that or AJ on the commentary, whatever. But yeah, those are sort of the things that somebody that they can get like seeing in that other role and seeing that might be leading to something as well is also like an important thing of saying, hey, this is not just what we're having here tonight, because it doesn't stop here tonight. It doesn't even stop, at Genesis. It's next week, it's next month, it's next year. And again, like they're going to have to announce like where they're going to be taping, not just taping, but where they're going to be touring and all of this sort of stuff. So it's not just saying, hey, we're having these people appear or whatever. Maybe a lot more of that stuff of saying, hey, this is where we're going to be or what we're going to be doing or whatever is going to happen more at Genesis, but still saying, hey, don't forget we're being in Albuquerque in 2 weeks' time or whatever it is, like get your tickets now and whatnot. So, and maybe, again, like teasing some of these AMC things, like I didn't really talk about that, but like that's been said of saying, hey, we might have some of these AMC superstars here or whatever. But in saying all of this stuff, it's like the purpose of a surprise is to be a surprise, like saying they might do this or might do that or whatever. That might be a bit of a surprise, or it might be something kind of halfway smart or whatever else, or might be something interesting or whatever else it is. But like that stuff only works as a surprise more so when it's not expected, like from somebody that's sort of not on your roster, so to speak. So saying, hey, we're going to have Cedric do commentary for this, and we're going to have the Righteous come out and try to interrupt the Hardys or something, or whatever else it is for their go-home program or whatever, or whatnot, or we're gonna, like, whatever else is, like, going on, I don't know. Or we're going to have something to do with Leon or whatever, maybe, I don't know. We're going to have something to do with the Inspiration and the Mr. Elegance. So that's sort of new as well, I guess. And then you're going to have something maybe for the main event. Maybe you're going to have something to do more with the AJ thing. I don't know, but like that starts to feel like now you're pretty full of stuff. So now it's like, oh yeah, with all of that, yeah, maybe Danny Luna and whatever Lay get into a tussle or whatever else it is or something or whatnot. But like then that's pretty much it. Like you've only got so many things that you can do or whatever and whatnot before it's like, oh, okay, the show's running long as it is, sort of thing. Maybe they should have even said, hey, the first one's gonna go for 2.5 hours or something. I don't know, but yeah. Or maybe there should be a no, we're gonna stay with this until this is resolved, and it goes an extra like half an hour. I don't see that really happening. Maybe it'd go an extra couple minutes or something, but no, we're live and we've got a situation here, but yeah, no. I don't know whether you expect something from the NXT people or the main roster, more of the main roster WWE people or whatever, but maybe. So again, saying that there's all of that stuff added in is like, what else could they put in? It feels like starting to be pretty cramped with having all those moments and having all those matches that are attached to them or whatever else. So I think that's where you've got to taper your expectations that everything and everyone and every which way will be, a bomb and off the wall and whatever else. That was what, like, the Hogan regime kind of got wrong, where it was like too many things, not enough time for anything to stick and for people to care in that. It was like, too many things. And like, also, obviously, again, not enough care for the traditional or core audience or whatever of TNA. It was like, oh, okay, we only care about like our incoming, casual viewers. We're not going to care about the people that got us here, even the wrestlers that got us here and whatnot. It's our way of the highway now, like, and we'll take, you guys out of the mix and we don't really care, so, but yeah, like, because we don't see you as marketable, we only see the WWE guys as marketable because, everyone and their dog knows who they are or whatever. But that's where you've got to build people. But that's where they were like, whatever. We don't care about building people. We just care about who's already marketable, I guess, or whatever. So that's the lazy man's work. That's what, like, some ways what WWE does a lot of the time is like they don't really care to develop talent that much, especially like on the main roster. They're like, if you're not already like over in a main eventer, we don't really like try to do anything with you, like, unless you go way above and beyond or whatever else, we don't really care. You've got to be, the guy to do it, like, we're not going to do it for you, like, no matter who you are or what division you're in or whatever. If you're not pulling out your finger really a lot to do everything that you can to do this thing, then you're just going to be, mid-card jobber or whatever, whatever position we put you in. So yeah. But yeah, anyway, those are my thoughts for now on potential surprises that they could have for the AMC debut. Obviously, as I said, maybe you want to save some for Genesis. Maybe you also want to save some for like next week in Albuquerque or whatever as well. So, and then even after that as well. And plus you've got to announce, hey, we're going to be doing this here and that there or whatever else it is. So people can start planning, okay, I'm going to see, these people coming to my town or coming near to my town or, whatever, or the people that have to fly in for the weekend or for the night or whatever else it is can make their plans for when they're going and how they're getting there and how they're getting home or whatever else it is, or getting a day off or whatever else it is, or whatever they need to do to come and see the show. Because again, like, those, like, maybe those people will just tune in on TV, I don't know, but again, I know a lot of the TNA fam, they do want to go there live if they can. A lot of them go live every week, basically, or whatever it is, and would do if they could. It's like, oh, well, we want to follow the product as much as what we can because we love it or whatever, or we want to see it do the best it can or whatever. But at a certain point, it's like, well, I live over here and I work over here. Am I going to be able to get on a flight to go over there to see this thing on Thursday night and then come back or whatever it is after that or whatever it is, like, so that's why, like, Thursday is also like an awkward day. It's not just, the fans that are in that area or whatever get to see it, it's like, oh yes, sure, they get to see it in that area, but it's like the fans that want to see it, but they're like, oh, but I've got work and I've got these other things on, or I've got whatever else going on and whatnot, and how do I get there and how do I get back, and how much is accommodation and how much is this, and how, it's not just saying, oh, well, how much is a ticket to go see it. It's saying, well, how much is accommodation and how much travel do I have to do, and that's also the same for the wrestlers. That's why it's like, yeah. a big hump the doodle. But anyway, guys, yeah, as I said, I hope you've enjoyed this one. I hope you join me again in another one.